thank you everyone for joining this afternoon. I'd like to welcome you to the session. And we're lucky to have two speakers today. The session will run for about 1 hour. And today the focus is on hearing from two of our speakers, two educators, two researchers, in terms of how one delivers training or teaching in online environments in the context of higher education. And this comes out, this is organized through the Beyond Zoom project. It's another research project that the lab here, the Research Lab, Software Engineering, Internet Technology Lab is involved in. And the focus of this project is on how we can deliver better quality and inclusive online training in higher education, but also in VET. By the way, my name is Dr. Alexandros Geragiodis, and I am a member of the SAIT Lab. So enough about me. Let me just welcome our speakers. We have Dr. Sonia Andreou. Hello, Sonia.
Hello, everyone.
Thank you for speaking today. And we also have Professor Kola MacDonald, all the way up in Canada. Hi, Professor Kola. Do you hear us? You mean
good morning.
Good morning and good afternoon.
Yes.
Okay.
It's morning here.
So a few words. I'll say a few words. I know I've shared the bios of the speakers, but I just want to say 1 or 2 words for each before they start. So we'll start with Dr. Sonia Andreou. She's an associate lecturer at the Department of Multimedia and Graphics Arts at Cyprus University of Technology, also a colleague of mine. And she will be speaking in terms of her capacity as a lecturer at the fully online program, the master's degree in interaction design. And then we have Professor Kola MacDonald, another colleague who collaborate in different research projects, who has a lot of experience, and her research is in the area of digital education, curriculum design, and program evaluation. She has collaborated on many projects and coordinated many projects in this field, across borders, across countries, across sectors, industry, as well as education. And she's speaking more in terms of her role as a senior researcher at the University of Malta. And she will tell us a bit more about her experience. And the title of her talk is Tips for Effective Online Teaching. And Sonia's title is The Craft of Asynchronous Teaching in the Online Classroom. And I will hand over to Sonia now to go ahead and listen to her. Thank you, Sonia.
Thank you, Alex. Okay, let me share my screen for you. If you cannot hear or see, just let me know. So here we are.
We can see, Sonia, thank you.
Okay, good. So the title of the presentation, as my colleague Dr. Geragiodis already said, is The Craft of Asynchronous Teaching in the Online Classroom. So my personal experience with online and in particular asynchronous teaching in higher education comes due to my involvement in the delivery of an MSc program in interaction design. So allow me to give you some context. The MSc in interaction design is offered by 2 universities, Cyprus University of Technology, where I am employed, and Tallinn University. So the idea is that this program blends interaction design, human-computer interaction, and online learning. The program equips the graduates with immediate marketable skills in design, technology, and theory as related to the domain of interaction design, user experience, and human-computer interaction. We have with us students from around 40 different countries at the moment studying online and with a strong focus on mentoring and one-to-one advising. So the MSc in interaction design can be a full-time or a part-time postgraduate, obviously, program in the domain, like I said, in the domain of interaction design. So the program is designed right from the beginning to run online and being fully online in English in order to be accessible to as many people as possible around the globe. So the course provides access to Google's online learning suite, Google Apps for education, for students internationally, and us, the instructors, obviously. We follow a combination of asynchronous and sometimes synchronous communication with a focus on asynchronous communication. Of course, this depends on the instructor and the nature of the module. So the program is generally broken down in bi-weekly sessions and assignments. The assignments can be individual. Oftentimes, they can be group work because we encourage teamwork and the idea of building a community among the students. So we have a strong preference towards group work. All course modules are provided with an emphasis on practice-based learning through research, design, and implementation of different individual and collaborative projects, like I said. So we post assignments, tips for each assignment, videos, interesting material related to the session, and we encourage the students to do the same. Oftentimes, this serves as an icebreaker between us and between the members of each class, each cohort. We also actively encourage the conversation of students in comments. We additionally schedule synchronous sessions via lectures on Google Meet, for example. We have virtual office hours for each module once a week to allow students again to have another route to access the instructor. Of course, students can schedule also meetings with us any other time if for whatever reason the virtual office hours that are predetermined are not suitable to their own schedule. So like I said, the course is designed to be flexible to the varying needs and other life commitments that postgraduate students, or like we call them mature students, have to juggle in their everyday lives. Therefore, the means of communication and the delivery of the content must be equally flexible and offering different solutions, oftentimes tailored to the needs of each student. So when thinking of our program of studies, but also generally the broader idea of online learning, especially in higher education, it would be helpful to keep in mind European Union's priorities as highlighted by the EU's digital agenda. So these are e-inclusion, as reflected by the European Commission's view on the role of digital skills, that is to empower citizens and fight the general notion of marginalization and social exclusion, including careers through education. E-accessibility, which targets the removal of the barriers encountered when trying to access and use digital media products, services, and applications. And of course, the idea of e-services themselves, which reflect the recognition of information technology as a powerful tool for accelerating economic development, whose benefits include accessing a greater user base, broadening the reach, lowering the entry barrier to new domains, as well as the cost of acquiring new audiences. So these three pillars, let's say, informed the design of MSc in Interaction Design as a program of studies. So let us now look into these domains of synchronous and asynchronous online learning. I will also, obviously, I will focus on asynchronous online learning, but let me give you a few ideas for the beginning, for the comparison, let's say. So first, we have to acknowledge the fact that both synchronous and asynchronous online learning have some core similarities, but also some unique advantages and disadvantages that one needs to account for and address, both as a learner and as an instructor, like in my case. So our colleagues from the Ohio State University have visually summarized this by presenting this figure that you can see here. So if we wanted to explain the differences and similarities of the two in just a few sentences, maybe to a prospective student, we would say that in asynchronous online classes, they will need to complete work each week on their own schedule. They will receive immediate feedback on quizzes. Although here I would say, I would add to what the colleagues have presented here, that if we are talking about assignments and no quizzes, obviously they will not receive feedback as quickly as with quizzes. They can schedule group work when it's convenient for them. So asynchronous learning, therefore, happens when the work of learning occurs at different times and in different places geographically. In synchronous online classes, they will attend classes virtually each week with instructors and classmates alike. They can participate in real-time discussion during class time and improve their presentation skills, obviously. So synchronous learning, therefore, is the kind that happens at the same time, but while the participants may be in different geographical places. For both of them, they can attend classes from anywhere, given they can access the internet and they have the means, a computer, for example. They can communicate regularly with instructors, network, and make connections with their peers, with their classmates. So now let's focus on asynchronous online learning, which is what my colleagues and I do as part of delivering MSc in Interaction Design regularly. So while listing the advantages of the asynchronous online learning in terms of its flexibility, we also need to be able to handle the possible obstacles of the method, as well as take some important decisions in terms of the content per se. This is perhaps one of the first decisions that an instructor needs to take. Asynchronous lessons allow us to bend time, in a sense, one could argue. So one of the first decisions, in my opinion, when organizing the content is whether to apply this time bending on our material. The material can have an expiration date or be what we might call evergreen. So expiration date lessons, expiration date material is designed to be watched, consumed within a specific time frame. This can be useful when you are assigning a deadline. For example, you ask students to watch a video, complete the relevant assignment, and upload it onto Google Classroom until a specified date. This can be also applied to specific events in order to build a sense of community. For example, read this article and we can discuss it during the next virtual office hour sessions or with your teammates. So lessons designed around an expiration date reinforce responsible work habits and can help us building a community where the members actively interact with each other, mainly because they have to. Evergreen content, on the other hand, is uploaded and stays there for the students to watch or read or interact with whenever they wish, as many times as they wish to. This, for example, can be great for introductory content, for reference, or something we wish our students to be able to come back to and critically review in a future stage. Certainly, though, we cannot rely only on evergreen content without adding an expiration date element, because student engagement, I have found that, well, it decreases, and the same can be said about community building, which is important in asynchronous online learning. So some of the most common pitfalls is the lack of peers presence, actual physical presence, or synchronous presence, if you will, the lack of attention from the side of the learner, and the need for constant self-discipline from the side of the learner. So let's address them. A lack of peers' presence. Without an instructor or peers present, asynchronous learning models lack a personal touch for many students. Some students are unlikely to form classroom relationships along the learning journey the way they would in a real-time learning environment, especially with physical actual presence. Lack of attention. Without people to turn to in their moment of, let's say, learning need, some students will feel that they have to navigate challenges on their own, which can be tough for a student. And like I said, it requires students self-discipline, Since asynchronous courses are individualistic in their nature, students will need to practice self-discipline regularly, all the time, to stay on top of their development. So perhaps the biggest challenge here that we face as educators is not to lose engagement with the students throughout the process. So from the side of the instructor, of the educator, there needs to be a way to assess the engagement and or the understanding of the students, or else it might feel as if you're teaching into the void, basically. On the other hand, the students might feel disconnected from the instructor and from the peers. They might watch some of the content, but choose not to engage with it. If everything is pre-recorded, they might simply wait for some answer to come up by watching the videos and without reading, watching anything that comes before or that they consider to be supplemental material. So the main idea is to have some form of synchronicity in the process, and certainly a sense of them being accountable to themselves, to the course, to the instructor, even to their own peers, maybe through group work. So let us see some practices that I found helpful. Some of them were suggestions by my colleagues, some I read about, some I gave them a try, and in a sense, it was a test for me and my students. So some of them I actually adopted quite early on and some later on in the process. So set clear objectives. Setting clear objectives, learning objectives at the start of every module gives students realistic expectations about the intended outcome. So I usually meet with them synchronously at the beginning of each module, usually during the first week of the semester, to give them some general info, read with them the pedagogical script, explain it, and also explain to them what this module is about and also what it is not about. So they have a clear idea what they are going to be dealing with and working with for the entire semester. So in this sense, they can easily track their speed, follow deadlines, and consider how effective the material is, enhancing their overall learning, e-learning experience. You should consider small-sized sessions. These are usually mature students, like I said before, busy schedules. Some of them are parents, some of them entrepreneurs, business owners. Some of them are simply looking to gain an extra degree and knowledge to help them advance in their workplace. So considering this kind of profile of our students and their lifestyles, it is better to break the content down into smaller sessions that are easier to handle. For example, in the case of our postgraduate program, like I said, we have bi-weekly sessions, 7 of them. What happens with assessments, with assignments? Having consistent assessments, assignments throughout the module enables students to keep track of what they have been learning and where their knowledge is lacking. Maybe areas they need to improve or areas they have truly mastered. Accessibility. By creating easily accessible courses, students can attend regardless of whether they are or what device they have. Mobile-friendly courses, for example, are certainly more popular among a larger group of students. Engagement and interactivity, both of those words obviously very relevant and very useful here. So adding interactive elements to an asynchronous course keeps the content interesting and inviting for students. Students are more likely to be engaged with audio, video elements, obviously, active discussions, other similar elements to that. So anything that is interactive promotes active learning better compared to long, lengthy, tedious, sometimes for them, lectures. Expressive feedback, I have found that helps a lot. Feedback needs to be consistent and constructive, obviously, at the end of every session and assignment. Instead of awarding them just a grade, it is best, I have found, to include as many comments as we can. Of course, we are all busy, but as detailed as we can make the comments, it is much better. I explain the strong parts of the assignment or the paper, whatever they have presented you with, as well as areas that they could improve in the future. So explain in detail to them, simply because we cannot have them in class face-to-face, we have to compensate for that in a sense. Resources for further reading. By giving reading suggestions, you can support students in their journey outside the module. So providing specific links, maybe also make it easier for them to explore in their own time. And then, like I said, online discussions, forums, chats, virtual office hours, different solutions like that, different outlets for them to be able to communicate with you and with the peers. And let's see some specific tools. Like I said, videos, they are powerful for facilitating learning. The combination of visual and audio cues, as we know, enhances a learner's overall experience. Performance support aids. Synchronous learning, like I said before, makes us should make use rather of performance support aids like checklists, maybe how-to guides, curated links, PDFs, anything that allows the learner to easily revisit the knowledge they need for their work at hand. Oftentimes, we can also have some recorded lectures. They can be good for learners to get acquainted with their instructors without meeting in person, especially if they are for introductory, for some introductions about specific topics. Why not? Blogging encourages learners both to express their views on a topic as well as to learn from another point of view, maybe their classmates, for example. You could also have a digital library, having an online collection of audio, video files, ebooks, anything that the learners can turn to and choose to look at in their own time and study further, maybe. Presentations. While learners are not meeting in person, they can still give presentations online in order to discuss content with their peers, even compare notes in a way, discuss, and see where they are at the moment in terms of their own learning process. Discussion boards I have mentioned before, and assignments, quizzes, tests, group work. While feedback might not be immediate when it comes to assignments, providing consistent and regular feedback, like I said before, still helps learners immensely. They should always have an idea where they are standing in terms of the course and what they can do to get better, specific ideas by the instructor. So they are certain, they are not left on their own devices for a long time, because then usually I have found that they lose focus, they lose interest. So as a closing remark, we can say that because of its flexible nature, asynchronous learning offers many benefits for the learner, for the students. As more and more people work from home, we have seen that asynchronous learning emerged as a better fit for those people who are employees, who have families, who are studying part-time, who are mature students oftentimes. At the same time, asynchronous learning can also be combined with some synchronous methods, some synchronous elements to create this idea of blended learning, this blended learning approach that meets a more diverse range of learning needs oftentimes. So learning to strike a healthy balance between both worlds. Of course, like I said, I am leaning more towards asynchronous method, but still I am using some elements of synchronous online teaching methods. In this sense, this can help us keep up with the continuous needs for upskilling. And like this quote here that I have says, online teaching, whether synchronous or asynchronous, requires a measure of dissolving the screen between us and the learners. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sonia. It was a very nice talk, interesting talk. We have some minutes, 5 to 10 minutes to take some questions from the participants. I'll ask if anyone has a question, then I'll save my question for the end if there's time. So I'll first hand give an opportunity for any of the participants. If anyone has a question or a comment for Sonia, we have it now to ask. let me start. Maybe someone will think of something. Okay, so thanks a lot, Sonia. I think from my side, you emphasized at some point in the beginning about the importance of group work in an asynchronous course like this. Perhaps you could give us an example of what this looks like in, maybe from your courses, what a group assignment might be, or how many students does it involve, considering they're all in different parts of the world and different time zones, and how does it work?
So let's say that we have a module entitled research methods. So you give them 2 weeks to work on a specific topic or in a specific article, and list down all the ethical issues, ethics that they can find in the specific articles, how the authors address those issues, what could have been done differently, etc. So in order to, I guess, get different views on ethics from different perspectives, you might suggest group work. So in this sense, what I usually believe is best is for them to decide who the group mates are going to be, simply because they know their own time zones. They are encouraged in this sense to talk to one another, to discuss possible solutions in terms of meeting in their own private times, having discussions among their peers. So in this sense, they are left on one hand freely to choose 2 or 3 people. That's, for me, that's maximum. This is how it works, because then it gets super complicated, in my opinion, if it's more than 4 max people. So you give them, on one hand, this liberty to choose who their teammates are going to be, but then on the other hand, they are still operating within specific limitations. They have 2 weeks, they have a specific topic to work on. So you get, in my opinion, the best from both worlds. You get the idea of flexibility from asynchronous online learning, but then you also get the idea of community, of group work, of meeting face-to-face, in a sense, through a screen with the classmates that they choose to work with, that their schedules do not collide in any sense. But this is all done in a controlled environment with specific parameters. So in this sense, they are not lost in different time zones and real life schedules, etc. That would be an example.
Thank you, Sonia. I don't know, does anyone else have another question? We can take another question before we move on to Kola's talk. Any other questions? Okay, then I will take it. Sonia, I have another question. You pointed out how important it was to get feedback from the students, and you had a slide or 2 there where you were showing us, shall I say, some of the problems or some of the areas where we see things could improve. Yeah, the pitfalls, let's say. How do you gather this information? Do you do an assessment at the end of the course? Do you speak with the students? Do you get like individual comments? And how easy is it to implement some of this feedback in the following year, let's say?
Well, there are 2 ways. The first one is while the module is running, you get their comments, because the majority of them, like I said, they are mature students. So usually if something bothers them or collides with their schedule or creates for them an actual issue, they will email you, they will let you know, especially if you create from the beginning this, like I said, group community environment. Then the more formal way is that at the end of each module, so each term, they have to hand in a questionnaire, which is both qualitative and quantitative. So in this sense, we get answers from them both on a scale, like a Likert scale, for example, so we can measure satisfaction, but then we also get actual comments from each of them, or at least the majority of them. And then, of course, you go through a process of reviewing those comments. And to be fair, the majority of the comments and changes can be implemented. So if it's anything that has to do with the way that the content is organized, or something that would help them in assignments, or some content that I could add that they would find helpful, or something that they found confusing and we could rephrase or change a little bit. All of those things can, or if they need more synchronous sessions one-on-one, like mentoring, for example, anything like that can be changed. And we are hoping that we are getting better each year.
Thank you very much, Sonia. Thank you very much.